الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على خاتم الأنبياء أشرف المرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد فقال سبحانه وتعالى بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. So we begin first and foremost with the kalam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and before I elaborate on that and share my nasiha first and foremost for myself and then for my brothers and sisters in Islam, I want to thank Sheikh Muhammad Ali and the masjid here at Furqan. It's a community that I have a very special relationship with, even though it's my first time here, because I've been trying to come here, and Qadar Allah, I would come on these tours and it just wouldn't work. And today I'm not supposed to be on it's not on my schedule, but a brother met with me and said, you know, they're here, and I said, you know, I'm going to cancel my own family stuff and I'm going to come. We follow the way of the Salaf al-Salihin in action, not just in wording. When we say you want to follow the best of the generations, the Sahaba and the Tabi'un and the Taba Tabi'un, we have to look at how did they attend durus, how did they deal with their neighbors, how was their aqeedah, how was their manhaj, how was their akhlaq, how was their zuhud, how was their day in and day out ibadah. Not just in name. It's not just a title you throw on yourself and your bumper sticker on your car, and you have to be in the way of the Sahaba was when there would be a talk about Allah and His Messenger ﷺ, they would come close to the point that there is a hadith, and I'm sure you guys all know the hadith, and mashallah the Shaykh has, I'm sure, enlightened you many a time, but this is a reminder. When Rasulullah ﷺ was giving a talk and three men came. One of them, he came close, like the ones mashallah that came close. And one of them, he came but he became shy, so he stayed back. And one of them he saw and he turned back around. Like many people were here for salah and then they left. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said about the one that came close, that Allah came close to him. Yani Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He loved that action of him coming close. And the one that shies away, then Allah shies away from him. And the one that turns away, then Allah turns away from them. So when we go, anytime, it's not about the speaker, it's not about me, it's about the subject. If it's from Qala Allah wa Qala Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam, then we should have that hirs. One of my teachers, Shaykh Aminullah, he used to say that no matter how good the knowledge presented is, if the container is not clean, it will not benefit them in the knowledge. You guys have, mashallah, a lot of halal restaurants here. You know, it's one of the beautiful things about Manchester, huh? Winslow Road, you have all those Stockport Road and this and that, right? If you go to a really good restaurant, amazing, halal, beautiful, good meat, everything, you have chicken sukkar and you have all of the, everything that, mushkaki and all of that, right? But the plate you get has najasa on it. Huh? You're going to put that food and eat it? No. So when you sit for a talk, the first thing is you need to clean yourself. If you don't think it's beneficial, don't sit. If it's beneficial, you need to cleanse yourself. So you are clean, so that knowledge that comes, it benefits you. So I wanted to make this not something to try to impress you, because I'm not here to impress anybody. I'm not here to show off, I'm not here to gain followers, any of that kind of stuff. I want this to be really a conversation and a sincere nasiha between me and my brothers, because we see our youth and our future here, alhamdulillah. And that's one thing, as I was telling our brother here as well, and Sheikh Muhammad Ali as well, that one of the reasons I really wanted to come here is because I continuously hear, mashallah, how the youth are involved in this masjid and in this beautiful community. Allahumma barik lakum, may Allah bless it for you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, He orders us, Ya ayyuhal ladina amanu. He is speaking to who? The people of Iman. And this is important because today, many times when we see our brothers and sisters out there and we want to give them nasiha, we want to give them some advice, or we want to speak to them or invite them to a masjid or to a halaqah or to a gathering, they tell you, no, I'm Muslim, don't speak to me, I'm good. You know? But here, in this ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not just speaking to Muslims, but to people of Iman. And he's somebody who's reached that level that they would fit in the category of Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, people of Iman. But it's not like, okay, you reached that level, so now that's it, you're done. No. What does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala order them? He tells them, ittaqullah, have taqwa of Allah, haqqa tuqatihi, until and to the level that is the haqq of Allah. And even if you're a person of taqwa, even if you're a person of Iman, always work on yourself. And one thing I see a lot in the UK is people have forgotten themselves from the Muslim community. They're worried about everybody else. Every time I come here, what do you think about this person? And what do you think about this da'i and this corner and this person? Khalas man, leave them alone. What are you worried about yourself? What did you forget yourself? How was your salah? How was your dhikr? How was your Quran? How was your Qiyam al-Layl? How was your muamalat, muasharat? How was your dealings? Worry about yourself. Everybody just wants clicks and views and this. No. So here, we need to look at this ayah and benefit from that, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling the people of Iman, have taqwa of Allah, as up to the level that it is the haqq of Allah, to that level. And then continues, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues in the ayah and says, and don't die except in a state of being a Muslim, of Islam. Just entering Islam is lower than being a person of Iman. It's lower than being a person of taqwa, as is the haqq of Allah. But even then, even when you reach that high level, maybe you're a alim, maybe you're a sheikh, maybe you're a da'i, maybe you're hafid of Quran, a qari, this, still worry about yourself. Will I die as a Muslim? Never become stagnant. Never become like, okay, I'm good. No, I need to always strive and struggle. My respected brothers and sisters in Islam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will, and this is a guarantee, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will enter this religion into every household. Brick or mud, weak or firm, as Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam has told us that this deen will reach everywhere that the day and the night reaches. You know, this is something the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, they believed, because they had yaqeen, they believed. But it would have been very difficult for them to fathom, right? Because at that time, Islam was where? In Mecca and Medina and Hijaz and Najd, in this area, maybe in the Arabian Peninsula, Yamama, these areas. This was it. Imagine how would Islam, if you told them, how would Islam reach South Africa? They didn't even know South Africa exists. How would it reach Malaysia, Indonesia, and China, and Finland, and Iceland, and South Antarctica, and South America? It would be very difficult. But because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said it, they believed it. And that was their Iman. Today we tell somebody, Allah said this, they say, well brother, I think we came from monkeys. Maybe your granddad was a monkey, I'm good, man, right? You tell somebody, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, if the fly falls in your drink, dip it twice. Brother, ew. What are you talking about? That's not scientific. And then you pull a case study and a clinical trial, which I have, by the way, where scientists tell you, yes, that's the best way to kill the germs, and they do petri dishes and they do an experiment. Now you're like, yes, now we believe it. So when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, he didn't believe it. When Dr. Goldberg said it, now you believe it, huh? Where did your Iman go? But the Sahaba, they were not like this. Qala Allah, khalas, we believe in it. No ta'wilat, no giving other meanings, no philosophy, no Aristotle, no backflips, no psychological games, none of that stuff. Qala Allah, khalas. Qala Rasul, alayhi salatu wasalam, khalas. That was their Iman. So when Rasul said the deen will reach, they said it will reach. But then in our time, we see the fulfillment of that prophecy. In our time, you see that not only have du'at and da'wahs reached every country, but because of the internet. This is something that happened in my lifetime. Now because of YouTube and TikTok and Instagram and all the Google and all this, kuffar try to use these things for their advantage, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has His plan. Because of that, people in Finland, people in China, people in South Africa, people in South America, people in Greenland, people in Antarctica, they go online, they learn about Islam. Subhanallah, we have, and I'm not talking about stuff we hear about, I'm talking about what I've seen. We have a brother in San Diego, he's Mexican brother. Inshallah, you guys visit us in San Diego, we'll introduce you to him. This brother, he didn't know any Muslims. He lived in an area that was a predominantly Mexican gang neighborhood, no Muslims there. Never met a Muslim. How did he become Muslim? How do I know him? One day I was at the masjid and I see this Mexican guy come in and he starts to pray, but he's praying all wrong. And in ruku, he's looking around and he's looking at people. So I was sitting with some of the tullab ilm there, some of our students there. And I told the brothers, I was like, I don't think this guy knows how to make salah, So why don't you guys go talk to him nicely, and ask him where he's from and thing. So the brothers went and talked to him and they were like, you're Muslim? And he's like, yeah. Like, well, where'd you take your shahada? He's like, what's that? Like, how do you know about Islam? How'd you become Muslim? So he said his own story. He said, I was watching Fox News. And as I was watching Fox News, they talked about Muslims being terrorists and murderers, and I was like around gangs, and I said, man, these guys are really gangster. Like we shoot each other here and there, but these guys, man, they're blowing up whole blocks. It's a true story, man. You can meet the brother, He said, these guys are murderers, man. These guys are on it, man. I gotta get with them, man. These cartel guys got nothing on them. So I said, I didn't know any Muslims, so I started asking, well, who are Muslims? I said, they have a book called the Quran. He said, well, where do I get one? I said, nobody knew where to get one. So he said, I went to the library. I said, do you have a Quran? They were like, yeah. He picked up a Quran, started reading. And he said, as I started reading and I started researching online, I said, no, Muslims are nothing like what they show on TV. And alhamdulillah, he didn't meet any Muslims, but from that, he accepted Islam. And he was Googling how to pray and where to go and this and this. So now when you speak to him, brothers tell him, tell me your story, how you became Muslim. He said, Fox News made me Muslim. This is hidayah from Allah. I know that every city has a hood. Every city has a bad neighborhood. And every city has its own crime and its own things, But trust me, what you guys see here is nothing compared to what we see. I was in London recently and one brother, alhamdulillah, good brother, died. He was taking me to an area. He said, this area is really dangerous. I said, why? He said, we have stabbings. So that's it? They're like, no, you don't understand. They have knives. I was like, well, they're going to butter my toast? What? They got a bagel to go with that? The first time I saw a person get shot, I was 14 years old. It wasn't like at my school, in my middle school, in my elementary school, stabbings were like, yeah, the guy got stabbed, yeah, all right. What else is new? Somebody gets shot, you're like, all right, that's something to talk about. 14 years old. When I saw a guy's brains out. I don't know if you ever saw anybody get shot here, but it's not like the movies, It's not like there's a little hole and like a little drip of blood comes, and the Indian movies are the worst, man. You're getting shot and you're still going as if it's nothing. You get shot like a good caliber gun, the entrance hole, whatever, but the exit hole take your whole head off. And the holes are like this big. You can't just get shot and keep walking like it's nothing and music playing in the background, So we realized from a very early age that life has no guarantee. You know, one of my very good acquaintances, you could say, or friends or whatever, that I grew up with, somebody that I spent a lot of time with. And he's somebody that I was very close with. His name was Manuel, and he was Mexican. And we were from the same gang. And growing up, I didn't know much about Islam. I mean, I didn't have Muslim friends and things, you know. I used to come visit the UK. We have a brother, Nadeem, here. He's my witness, you know. And my mom used to send me to the UK in the summers a lot of times because I would get in a lot of trouble back home. And unlike here, like I wasn't raised in a Muslim, I didn't know any Muslims growing up. So these people that I became friends with, they were kuffar, but they were the only friends I had. And this brother, he was 2 years older than me. Brother in the sense of humanity, not in Islam. He was 2 years older than me. And he was somebody who was very close to me. He was somebody who kind of took me under his wing, and we were very respectful. And you know, since 8th grade, we were close since I was very young. And even before that, I knew him since I was a child. But from 8th grade on, we were like very, very good friends. In fact, like even his house, nobody was allowed inside the house. You know, they had a garage next to the house where the gang would hang out, but nobody could go inside where his mom and his sisters and his father and grandmother were. But he would tell me, like, you come sleep inside the house. Like, that's how trustworthy the relationship was. And one time, it's not a Netflix special, it's not a YouTube video, I'm telling you my own stuff. One time, when I was 18 years of age and he was 20, we had a girl that met me at a party, and she gave me a number. At that time, I'm a little bit older than you guys, just a little bit. We didn't just have cell phones, like we had pagers, you know. So you would get a number, and then you would call it, and they would page, and then you would go to a payphone, and you would call them. So you know, they would give you a number and tell you, okay, we'll meet up. So I had this number, and I had a weekend, it was time. I said, okay, I'm gonna go. And then I had another girl, gave me another number. So I was like, I'm kind of stuck between two choices here. So I was talking to him, and I said, you know what, you take one, I'll take one. And he's like, all right. And that's how blindly those girls didn't care. They just wanted the clout of being with a gang leader who could, you know, we could do a lot of things at that time. Could get rid of your bad grades, could, you know, somebody could be disappeared from you and all that. They didn't even care who really showed up, because we were all in the same gang. We were from the leadership. We had about 600 people. Not like gangs here, like 20 people, like, oh, can't even play football with them. Yeah, 600 strong. I mean, our leadership was 13 people. And me and him were both from the leadership. So I told him, okay, I'll take the better looking one. I got the numbers. You take the other one. He's like, all right. And subhanAllah, he showed up in my place, and he went to the payphone where he's supposed to now call, and he calls the number. And instead of the girl coming out, a group of guys came out. They didn't stab him. They took guns and emptied clips into him, magazines. And subhanAllah, that day it was supposed to be me. I mean, the setup that the other gang had planned for months, they had got the girl and told her, go give him the number and this, all of that was meant to kill me. But qadar Allah, but the qadar that Allah has written, it ended up that he went in my place. And they didn't ask. They saw him, saw he was a gang member from our gang, they just shot him. I still very vividly remember seeing his body when they first got it out of the morgue. You know, the side of his head was gone. Like this whole skull, because 357 shot to the head was gone. Bullets through his hand, through his shoulder, through his chest. 9 bullets hit him. Imagine how many they shot. 9 hit him. And subhanAllah, it's not the first time he had been shot. He had been shot many times before, but he lived. So we used to call them bulletproof. That day we found out nobody's bulletproof. كل نفس ذائقة الموت. Every soul shall taste death. 20 years of age, dead. For what? A gang name that nobody remembers. That gang still exists today. But if you go there today and you mention him, nobody even remembers who he is. A grave that nobody visits. You know, what did we work for? Money, fame, drugs, girls, clout. Like these are the things people talk about, right? I buried him. Me and his brothers and his family, we buried him. Wallahi, none of the money he ever made went down with him. We used to have a 1964 Impala. I don't know if you guys know Impalas, but it's a gangster car. It had rims and hydraulics and it was pimped out. And he used to love that car. Like we went on it together, but he's the one that would take care of it. He would wash it and buff it and clean it, and we would take it cruising. And when people heard that car, they knew it was us. That day, as we buried him, his brothers were driving the car. You know, we used to have, like you guys have Nike Tech and Jordans and Air Force Ones and all that kind of nonsense nowadays, right? Gucci and this and that. We used to have our own. We used to have Dickies and Pendletons and Ben Davises, and these were gangster brands, you know. And we were poor, like we didn't have that much, you know. But because of, you know, we used to deal with drugs, and I mean, not like you guys is here, like, okay, he sells, you know, a bag of cocaine. Whoa, you know. We used to move drugs across the Mexican border, like cartel stuff. And we couldn't put the money in the bank, you know, and couldn't invest it. So you just wasted, just buy 20 jackets and this and that, you know. But that day I went to his house, and his brothers, the day we buried him, his brothers were already fighting over his clothes. They were taking, you know, he used to put money under the mattress and in different places in the house. Every one of those places was raided. By the time I got to his house, it was all gone. So I started to think, what's the purpose of life? Why do we do what we do? You know, even here you go out and you represent a postcode or whatever, a street. You don't own the postcode. You don't own the street. You know, what are you fighting over? And especially here when you hear Muslims fighting Muslims, how pathetic is that? Like, what's wrong with you guys? How can somebody of La ilaha illallah fight another person of La ilaha illallah? Over what? That day I buried my friend. We didn't put any drugs in the coffin. We didn't put any money in the coffin. His respect and the people fearing him, none of that went in. That body couldn't even move. We picked him up. His body was limp. If you think you're hard, think about going up against Malak al-Maut. When the angel of death comes, you're gonna be like, nah, I'm good. Huh? You're gonna be like, you know who I am? Check out this chain. Bling. Can't fight Malak al-Maut. If the malaika of adab hit you in the qabr, you think you can stand up to that? I don't care how many MMA gyms you join and how much you can bench. When the malaika of adab, may Allah protect us all, throw you in the nar, you think you can stand up to that? And if you can't, then what are you doing with your life? You know, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he told us in the hadith that al-kayyis, the intelligent person, is the one man amila amalan lima ba'd al-maut, the one who does the actions from that which will benefit him after death. That's the intelligent person. The foolish person, he continues to sin and says, Allah is going to forgive me. Allah is forgiving, but you got to make tawbah. That's stupidity, that you keep doing the same sin and then you think Allah will forgive you, but you're not making tawbah. The intelligent person realizes that this life is terminal. You could walk out on that street tonight and get hit by a car and die. You could be taking a bath and slip in your bathroom and die. You're young. And you think, because the waswas of shaitan right now, that I'm not going to die. I'm going to live till I'm old, and when my beard is white, and when my back is broken, and I'm no longer able to stand and pray, then I'm going to stand in the masjid all day. Right? Shaitan does that waswas. How old are you? You, in the back. Yeah? 15. Have you ever been to a graveyard? Huh? Go to one. You guys have a maqbara here? Muslim graveyard? Go and check the dates. Yes, I'm going to call on people at random, so don't get freaked out. Got to keep you guys engaged. You guys got that TikTok generation, they don't have attention spans. If you go to the graveyard, check the dates of the people buried there. Usually, they have a little marker, it'll have a name, born and dead. And you will find 15-year-olds, you will find 14-year-olds, you will find 10-year-olds, you will find babies, you will find 20-year-olds. And that should be a reminder that you have no guarantee how long you'll live. There's no guarantee you will live long enough to make tawbah. There is no guarantee you'll live long enough for your beard to turn white. So what are you doing with your life? You have to check yourself. You have to wake up. You have to remember that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent you on this planet with a purpose. And not just the purpose of worshipping Allah, as every human being has been given, and jinn, that purpose, but this ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam has been given a special purpose. Kuntum khayra ummatin ukhrijat linnas ta'maruna bil ma'roof wa tanhawna 'anil munkar wa tu'minuna billah. What does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tell us? That you are the best of people, the best nation of all the nations. You're the best. But why? Umar ibn Khattab radiyallahu in the tafsir of this ayah, he says, it's because there is a shart, there is a condition, which is that you invite towards good and you forbid that which is evil. That is what gives this ummah sharf, this honor. So when you see bid'ah, when you see shirk, when you see kufr, when you see drug dealing, when you see somebody taking a balloon and putting nitrous oxide in their head for some insanely stupid reason that I really don't understand, and driving, who thought of that idea, right? When you see that, you have to stop it. You have to say no. I'm not. When you see people giving rishwa, bribe, when you see people doing wrong, you have that responsibility. When you see somebody worshipping a cross, or worshipping a monkey, or a blue guy, or a cow, a burger, or a steak, it's your job to say no, that's haram, that's wrong, that's shirk. You should worship none but that one Allah. And that is the responsibility of this ummah that gives us this honor. So, as a reminder for myself and my brothers and sisters in Islam, this life is short. Recently, before coming to the UK, the weekend before that, I was in Chicago. You can see the videos, they're being posted now. Some of the shorts are already up on the One Message Foundation channel. You know, we were going to Chicago and my son was talking to me. He said, you know, be careful when you go there because they got O Block. It's like, what's O Block? He said, that's the hood. People can't go there. It's like, what? I'm not scared to go anywhere. We're going to go to O Block. We're going to give da'wah there. So I got to Chicago and I was in a very nice area of Chicago and I told them I want to go to O Block. And they're like, what? Why do you want to go to O Block? People get away from O Block. You can't go there. I was like, no, I'm going to go. I'm going to give da'wah there. They're like, you'll get killed. I said, all right. I mean, I've been shot at before. I've been stabbed. It's all right. No big deal. We'll go get killed there. Become shuhada. No problem. Let's go. So we got brothers together, we went to O Block. And the brothers that went with us, they were all different. And some were white, some were brown, some were black. For us, we don't worry about these issues. We're all Muslims. It doesn't matter if you're Dawood or Darood or Hawiya or Ishaq or, for us, we're Muslim. La ilaha illallah. That's what unites us. So we went there, and that area of South Chicago is all African American. You don't see anything else. And you go there, it's not like here. You're like, you may have hoods, but this place, it's fenced in. The whole complex, not just one building, there's complex, the whole block, it's fenced in. And when we went there, police was at the gates. You couldn't go in unless you knew somebody or you were living, people were being checked going out. And when we went there, we wanted to go in and give da'wah. So there is a rapper called Little Dirk or something, whatever. Guy became Muslim. So some of his people, they coordinated with us for us to go in and things like this. So we were going in, the police looked at us like, what are you guys doing? Like, we're here to give da'wah. Like, what's da'wah? We're here to call people towards Allah, to leave drugs and leave this lifestyle and become Muslims and live a clean life. The police guy was like, you guys are crazy. This lady came up, police lady, was like, you guys are crazy, you're gonna get killed. And she's like, if you go inside to the O Block area, unless there's bullets flying, we're not coming in. So you're on your own. I said, we don't need you, we have Allah, we're going in. So we went in, alhamdulillah, we started giving da'wah. Before, when we got there and we were talking to people outside, we had 10 people become Muslim. Alhamdulillah, we went inside, we spoke to people. By the end of the 4 hours that we were there, or 3-4 hours, we had 20 people become Muslim. And subhanallah, one of them was a police officer. You'll see the videos, he's there in the short as well, He came up to me, he said, what are you guys, how come you guys aren't scared? You see, the Jehovah's Witnesses, Mormons, Christians, they don't come here. They go stand somewhere else, but they're not in O Block. So they're scared to come down here. I was telling us 50 Cent wanted to do a concert, and the rappers or the gangs there were like, nope, so he couldn't do it. 6ix9ine went in at 3 a.m. and snuck out because he was scared, right? We were there just lounging. Alhamdulillah, 14-year-old kids with Glocks walking around, It's nothing. The police officer was like, we have never seen anybody like you guys relaxed here, giving da'wah. We had a table and all that, talking to people. He's like, how come you guys aren't scared? We started telling him about Islam. Alhamdulillah, he took shahada himself. Alhamdulillah, and in the da'wah, as some of you may have seen the videos, these 3 clowns, David, Hammer Time, and the dog, and the crook, Since they came out about 2 years ago, we started to record the number of people that took shahada. Well, alhamdulillah, in the last 2 years, we've had more than 2,500 people accept Islam. So now, the question is, what are you going to do? You can go out there and sell drugs, you could go out there and be a gangster, but you're going to die. There's no other way out. Either you're going to be in jail for 20-30 years and then die, or you're going to die. Subhanallah, I used to give khutbah at the prison in San Diego. And we had a guy who was from the Mexican mafia, the Sureños. And they wouldn't let us give da'wah to the non-Muslims, even though they let the Christians, but anyway. They would only let us do the khutbah for the Muslims. So what we did is we spoke to the Muslims, we said, give da'wah to your cellmates and people in the yard, and then if they request to come for Jum'ah, they have to allow them. So our brothers, they would go and give da'wah, and the next Jum'ah they would bring non-Muslims to the Jum'ah, and after the khutbah we would sit with them and give them da'wah, and they would, alhamdulillah, many were accepting Islam. That's why they revoked my pass. So we had one guy, he had committed 5 murders. And he was there, and he was tatted up from his whole head, ears, everything except this part of the face was the only thing without tats. And then he had some on the face too. But from his nails to his toes, he was tatted. And he was going to he knew he would never get out of jail. They were going to give him 5 or 6 consecutive life sentences, or possibly the death sentence. It's a federal prison. And he was a Mexican mafia, they call the carnales, the big guys for the MA. But subhanAllah, he became Muslim. And we sat with him, we spoke to him, but one thing, I remember still, this was years ago, is one day he came for Jum'ah, he said, Shaykh, I have a question. I said, what's your question? He said, I'm tatted up, so it's hard for me to make wudu because I take the water and I try to rub it into the tattoos, So no, brother, you don't have to worry about that. Just wash your hands when you're good, And in America, the prisons are segregated. So blacks go with blacks, Mexicans with Mexicans. Even Mexicans have a norteños and sureños. Northern Mexican, southern Mexican, they can't mix. Whites go with whites, you can't mix races. And he was Mexican. But the Muslims didn't play the race card. The Muslims were by themselves. So black, Somali, white, doesn't matter. Afghan, Pakistani, didn't matter. Muslims. So when he became Muslim, he started hanging out with the Muslims. So the Mexican mafia, they told him, look, we don't care if you're Muslim, we don't care if you pray, that's all fine, but you can't hang out with blacks. You gotta be with Mexicans. You can't hang out with whites, you can't hang out with anyone, you gotta be with a race. And if you don't, we'll kill you. So he came to Jum'ah one day and he told me, just letting you know they're probably gonna kill me. And you're in prison, it's not like, oh, tough guy. 30 guys come and stab you with prison-made shanks, what are you gonna do, right? So he was like, but I'm not giving up. He says, I told them, look, I don't care what you guys do. I've done enough dirt for you guys. I'm Muslim now. These are my brothers. I'm going to be with them. Do what you want to do. And subhanAllah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guided him and Allah protected him. And he got transferred out to a faraway state, away from all the politics. And he used to write me letters. He used to be, I'm reading this book. I'm trying to learn these ayat. And, subhanAllah, they gave him many consecutive life sentences. He'll never get out. And they put him in a SHU, secured housing unit. That means 23 hours of the day. 23 hours. He was in a place that was 6 foot by 10 foot. He was a tall brother. He said, if I put my hands out, I can touch the side of the walls. 1 hour he gets to go out and just walk in a circle in a fenced-in area, can't talk to anybody. The rest of his life he won't have any conversations other than writing letters or them throwing food at him. And he will never get out. But he would write letters and he would say, you know what? I thank Allah. Because Allah has put me in a place where I can have khalwa with Him. I can be alone with Him. And he memorized Quran and he memorized Hadith and he would write to me, I've memorized this surah and this surah. So brothers, you have an opportunity. You're not in that situation. You can go out there and do whatever dirt, but then where are you going to end up? In prison? Dead? And then when Allah raises you on the Day of Judgment, what will you say? What did you do with your life? So instead, from this talk today, I don't just mean you, because mashallah you're salihin from what I see. Husn dhan, we expect that you guys are all from the people of the masjid. But you need to take this message to the youth out there. That what are you doing with your life? We can't have Muslims killing Muslims. We can't have Muslims killing anybody, but Muslims fighting Muslims over what? That's ridiculous. Subhanallah, these women are our sisters. These brothers are our brothers. So this is the time to wake up. Today, from this talk, I don't care if you like me or dislike me, it doesn't really matter to me. But I hope that this time that you spent listening will be a benefit to you. That you will say that I spent this time, so now I'm going to change something about my life. If there is something from the deen that's missing with me, I'm going to start from this talk today because it reminded me of my death. If there is some haram that I'm involved in, and all of us have our shortcomings, I'm going to leave it from this talk today. If I know a brother or a sister that's off from the religion, I'm going to go remind them. If there is a non-Muslim that I haven't spoke to about Islam, I'm going to go speak to him. So I can do whatever I can from the weak efforts that I have for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And again, the last thing I want to end with. The most important resource you have is this sitting here. The local ulama and people that you have of knowledge that teach you, this is the most important thing. Don't come when there is outside speakers and wow, mashallah, and then you're gone. No, benefit from the local knowledge that is being taught. the halaqat, the duroos, the lessons that are going on in your masjid. Allah has blessed you. We know people that in America that don't have a masjid 30, 40 miles from their house. And they have no ulama or tullab ilm in the whole state. We had a brother from Montana become Muslim. He was like, I want to study knowledge. There is not a single sheikh in the whole state. He lives far away. He became Muslim from YouTube. So he drives 40 miles to go to the masjid. And subhanallah, he goes for Fajr and Isha. At least Fajr and Isha. Imagine that drive every time. So we hope that you will take benefit and take advantage of what Allah has blessed you with.